I had done this presentation before for the Bing group, and it was really primarily focused on writing skills. But I want to change this a little bit so it's much more focused on communication skills. And writing is obviously going to be a key component of that. But let's be thinking about communications overall when we're going through this presentation. I think we'll all agree that communications is probably the most important executive skill that any of us possess or should possess, because it's fundamental to the mastery of all the other skills that we're involved in. From a marketing perspective, and this is where really be interesting to get the perspective of the marketing guys on but I guess we're all marketing pros when it comes down to it, right? From my experience, there's sort of three basic, marketing strategies, or at least advertising strategies that we might use. One is branding, which is more about creating image of your business in the consumer's mind, so they know and can relate to what you do and what you're all about, and hopefully they have a very positive appreciation for what you're doing. The other is news and public relations, and this is to keep your brand out there in the forefront based on innovation or changes in the business, or new developments in the marketplace and the brand. And then the third is promotional. When you're offering discounts or other incentives for the consumer to buy your product. Now, in our business, we're probably most interested in the branding or the PR function. I'm not so sure that some kind of a financial incentive is all that important to the type of clients that we work with. It's not a consumer good that we're selling. We're selling to other businesses, and they sort of understand at least if we've done our job, they understand the value proposition. So you're not going to get their attention too much on offering a big discount or a freebie. I mean, it could happen, but I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, that's probably not the way we're going to generate new business.
Yeah, so, Jim, could I add something?
Absolutely.
Very, very good point. And I'd say in general, yes, but even at Chief Outsiders at the beginning of the pandemic, we offered some kind of it wasn't exactly a buy 1 month, get 1 month free, but we did offer an incentive off our normal services. And we got a little traction with that, which kind of helped, I guess, save 2020. But that was a special circumstance, right?
Right. Well, that's a good point. And I know David Shavzin and I offered free consulting services on a certain time-based factor. And that, again, that was sort of a special circumstance and sort of resonated. I can't say that I've got too many calls out of that, but I did get a few. In the grand scheme of things, promotion, for consultants is probably the least important arrow that we've got in our quiver. Is that safe to say, Doug?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, great. So moving on. So just a little bit of an overview on, the tools that we've got that we should be using in our, our marketing efforts. The top one is, to understand and be able to communicate your mission, your tagline, and your unique selling proposition. In other words, your elevator pitch. And that is actually a tool that should be part of your signature block on your email, so that every communication really reinforces what you're all about in a very concise way. Okay, the public relations arena, this is something I've found has been very important to my business. Insofar every time I get a new assignment or complete an assignment, communicating that to my network has been a very powerful way of generating new business. When you get a new assignment, it alerts people that you're still in business and you're still making progress. And specifically in the case of executive search, it also generates a lot of candidate interest. Then when I complete an assignment, it's the same thing, send the word out that I've completed an assignment, which reinforces the fact that, you know, you're effective in what you do. And then that has a tendency to attract prospective clients, which is incredibly important. And I'm just going to go through this list real quick and sort of give you a flavor for the interesting tools that we've got and we should be thinking about. Testimonials and references, are also a very useful tool. Sort of, it's the bandwagon effect. If CEO of company A is really high on you, then hopefully that'll lead other people to do business with you. Although resumes are generally thought of in terms of job search, we all have our resumes, and people are interested in looking at our backgrounds in that format. So that's an important tool that always needs to be updated, as well as your bio. And the thing about the bio that I reinforce with folks is that if a bio is done right, it tells your story, and in a story format. Whereas people really scan resumes and don't necessarily read the whole thing. People have a tendency to be interested in reading a bio because it is written in a different way, and it's it is like a story, and people like stories. So if you don't have a bio, then I certainly suggest that you develop one and start incorporating it into your branding efforts. The other piece is an intro letter, especially for job seekers. Most people just do an awful job with their intro letter. They take so much time, superfluous information, without getting to the point that people will trash it, and it's just totally a wasted effort. But a well done intro letter can be incredibly valuable also. Same as a thank you letter. It keeps your brand in front of the client. And again, a thank you letter, sure, it's about saying thank you, but really what it is another opportunity to present your unique selling proposition. So 2 or 3 compelling reasons why somebody should do business with you or hire you. So to a large extent, the thank you letter title is a misnomer. It's really a after the call reinforcement kind of a tool. Very important, and I've seen those used to great effect. Other tools, Carl, you were talking about getting a website. I don't know how important that is until you've got a terrific LinkedIn profile that's really helping you out. But the LinkedIn profile can serve as an alternate to a personal website or for your business. So I'd make sure that is current, that it's interesting, and it's fully complete for all of you. Now the blog is another tool that's become a lot more useful for marketing your business. I put that in the category of becoming a subject matter expert. So that's really much more of a branding tool. The blog is meant to be sort of a soft sell, to provide value to the reader in terms of interesting information that they should be aware of, but not necessarily a hard sell on your capabilities. But it would entice the reader to reach out to you and have a further conversation. So at the end of the blog post, there's always an opportunity to provide a short bio and all the content, all the links to your content that will help make it easier for people to get in touch with you. And then finally, as I mentioned before, is the signature block in your email. This is one of the things that people consistently undervalue. And for everybody that's in business for themselves, this is your billboard, and not to use that space is really a negative to your prospects for building your business. And the thing about the signature block, obviously, it's you can include a logo if you've got one. You certainly want to indicate your telephone and your email address. But also you can add things like, links to recent blog posts, or links to, for instance, podcasts that you've been interviewed on, or certainly your tagline, and anything else that might be of value to the reader. So signature block, very, very profitable space on your email billboard, so to speak. And I'm still baffled, and I'd love to know, your perspective on why more and more people don't use that. Any comments or questions on that?
On the signature block, it's one of the things I always struggle with is, how much to have there, right? Because sometimes, and I've got a lot, I do. So the balancing how much stuff is sitting there, is a challenge. So that may be part of it, but I think people just don't think about it for the most part. Overall, that would be my guess. You guys are, Ken, you're the expert. You guys are doing this all the time, but so I kind of change mine up. Sometimes I put a blog, my latest blog there, and a few other things. So anyway, that's it for me. It's like a struggle of how to have something concise, but also something that people are going to notice. Otherwise, why bother?
I was going to say, just even not necessarily on a newsletter, but even on just a regular email, Google lets you pop links in, or pop little pictures in, or, sometimes I put a little GIF at the bottom of a video and make that a link to a YouTube video. There's different things you can do. You can put your calendar on there too, which is, something that I use Calendarly. I use the free version, and it just lets people click and schedule a link. Schedule a meeting with me. So, makes it super easy.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I put my calendar link in there. I think, Doug, and this may sound a little, I don't know, strange, but one of the reasons I think people don't use the signature block a lot is because people really don't know how to do it. I mean, it's a technology thing. They just don't understand how to set it up.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. I didn't even realize I can have several different blocks.
Right.
On Gmail.
Right.
Wait a minute, I can do one for my personal, I can do one for my business. And all of a sudden it's like, because what happened was I had one that wouldn't go away, and I was like, why is it still there? I've removed that. And I finally realized, oh, I need to delete that. I found the place to delete it. And so, yeah, learning stuff every day.
Yeah, I do have different blocks in it for my different email accounts. But here's a question for you guys. Marketing, and then Doug, you're just talking about data. So does anybody know, do people look at it at all? Everyone's so busy. You get an email from people, you're looking at the message, and you're either deleting it or you're responding or whatever. Anybody have any data on how much, that email signature spot, how much, value is there, in fact?
Well, David, let me respond to that first, and then get other input. One of the things that, and we track this on our website, people more and more are reading their email on their iPhone or their, other, smartphone device.
Mobile.
And, if they want to get back to you very quickly or respond to you, they want to just be able to touch a link, as opposed to going to their laptop or their desktop. And so what you're doing is also providing a convenience for them. You can they can touch the link to respond via telephone or email, or if you've got an interest, Calendly, for instance, is another good tool. They can just touch on that, and voila, they're right at the point where they need to be, as opposed to filling around and looking for all that information. So that I would say is that convenience factor is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Hey, did you have a point? Or Ken?
I was going to say real quick, I don't know if anybody uses a VoIP system or not, but some of them run through your computer, and it's easy to make a call from your computer. And something that Constant Contact just added, at first I was like, why did they add this? But you can turn your phone number into a link, so that even if someone opens it on their computer, and if they're using a VoIP, system, they could just click on that link have their headset on and immediately call you without having to punch in any numbers or anything like that. Even from, I mean, it obviously, if you send a phone number out through and they open it on their phone, they can do that. But now Constant Contact put in the option to make phone numbers links also in regular, if someone should open it on their computer, which, is still not a high number yet, but as things evolve, more and more people could start doing that from their office.
That's really interesting.
And to your point, David, I've not seen any data, but I'll bet you data exists, because between eye tracking, heat mapping, and just, measuring clicks and whatnot, to Ken's point, there's got to be data out there, but I haven't seen it. But I'll bet in about 15 minutes I could find something.
I had someone that I don't really, I know them from church, and they wrote me because the women's group wants to put a video together, and I help with stuff like that. And they wrote me, and when I sent it back, I used my personal email address, but at the bottom, there's a video of us and our YouTube channel for RVing. And literally within minutes, I got this notice from YouTube saying I had a new subscriber. So I know people notice things like that.
Yeah. Well, and then, you got the convenience factor is really important. Whatever you can do to make it easier for them to contact you, or to sign up for your mailing list, or to make a calendar appointment, or whatever is. As I said before, the signature block is like a billboard.
Yep.
And if you're not using it, you're just, paying for something that is providing no value to you.
Yeah, I actually notice the people's signature blocks more when they don't have them. And I get really frustrated when someone sends me an email and there's no signature. Or
I would much rather get a phone number or an email address that I can, I mean, it's obviously I can just respond back to the email, but I hate having to go click and find their email address and copy it to put it in my, in my contacts.
Right.
Well,
and this is a really good point when you're working with a client. Many of them don't have a real good appreciation for the value, the value of some of these little things like your signature block. So you can provide some immediate value added to those folks by just helping them improve, in that respect. And it also improves their productivity as well. So.
Right. Yeah, I had one other thing I wanted to say real quick. You mentioned, when you finish a project, you do a little recap of it and send that out. That's a great idea. I did that for a client. Actually, I was working for them at the time, and they had Constant Contact, and I said, "You've got a client, that's raving about you right now. You just did great things for them. If I could get a little bit more information." So I called the client, they filled me in. So I did like a little mini surmise their problem, put in the solution, and then had the final result just in a few sentences in each category, and posted it, sent it out in their newsletter. And they literally got a call 5 minutes later saying, "I want somebody to do this for me. I want you to do this for me." So sometimes people, they get stuff from you on your regular basis, but when you show real evidence, this is what I do, then it clicks in their head, it makes it more real.
Well, and to your point, getting a testimonial from the client as a part of that notification is tremendous value. Most of the business that I get, and I'm sure you guys are very, very much the same, is we get our business from referrals. So, people are trusted by a prospective client telling the prospect that Social Glue is a great company and they do good work, is the entryway into that next client. So anything that we can do to sort of trade off that is really useful, as opposed to how to going directly to the prospect and have to establish your brand identity with them. So yeah, and I must say, I didn't come by that idea totally organically. I really borrowed that from the the Wall Street merchant banking firms who every time they complete a syndication, they'll take out a half a page or a 1-page ad in the Wall Street Journal, like I guess in the A section or whatever. It's like, look how great we are, kind of a thing. And I said, well, if it works for them, we'll see if it works for me. And sure enough, it did. Not to the same extent, obviously, but it's a good thing.
I wanted to ask, try to get everybody's opinion what the value of LinkedIn is these days, because it seems, I don't know, and this is just me, but it seems like the value is going down. People are, the people that look at my profile anyway are mostly people that want to sell me something, not necessarily people that want to do business with me or anything like that. I don't know what everybody else's experience is.
Any thoughts on that?
I think that's, common, what LinkedIn, they try to, they push their sales navigator, they push the pay tools, which then allows people to do searches, find folks like you, Dave. I get a ton of people, financial people, and it took me probably a month or so before I realized, these people are just fishing. They really didn't care to get LinkedIn with me. I will usually LinkedIn now with someone who looks like I can help them just as much as they can help me, type of thing. So I try to look at it that way. If I don't really have much to offer them, then maybe what can I, if I don't have a set of people that I can refer them to, what good does it do for me to link in with them? So I think you just have to kind of look at it that way. And I've gotten really jaded. If I see that they're a sales navigator, or they've got the little gold LinkedIn symbol or whatever, premium or whatever, sometimes I don't connect with them because I know they're just out there fishing.
So I'll go counterpoint, but partly counterpoint, but more so, there's so many different ways of approaching and using LinkedIn. And so I think you really have to dissect all those things and what's appropriate for you with your goals in that whole mix. So by that, I mean, like in the early days, I only was connecting with people I knew really well, and
Right.
I expanded a bit from there. And then if you understand all the algorithms they use, it may be helpful to be more open to connecting with people. I was afraid early on, that people would look at my list of connections and then just bombard me with requests to connect and all that. I just haven't had that. But I use it more, well, I need to use it in different ways. But what I found and very effective is if you're active, period. If you're active, then your rankings are going up. But more importantly, if you're active, your network sees you and that network is expanding. So it's not magic and it's not overnight, but I post, my blogs, a few times. I put newsletters up and do another kind of post and likes and shares. And then, I'm up there because of other activity, my exit planning association. And so all kinds of things are out there, and you sort of build that ecosystem and brand a little bit. It doesn't take a lot of time. And again, not magic, but to me, that's just one part of my whole, brand marketing awareness, et cetera. So I think you really got to figure out what you are trying to do or accomplish with it,
I was going to say, I think that's a great point, Doug, because that's primarily what I'm using LinkedIn for, is to build a brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to just post stuff and, post things that I've written and really to kind of help support the folks that I'm connected with too. So by liking and commenting on their posts and that sort of thing. And it's really become more of that. I just, it's interesting. So I think everybody knows, in addition to doing this franchising thing, I'm also still looking for a full-time gig. What I really found interesting was every single company that I have interviewed with over the last several months, not one of them has looked at my LinkedIn profile. Not one.
Really?
I swear to God.
That
And
is
it
shocking.
shocked the hell out of me.
Well, they
Yeah,
might be
me
in
too.
stealth mode.
You know what
No, because usually you get a notification that says, someone from, in this industry or whatever. And no, not a single person.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
it's weird.
the funny thing is I put together a presentation. I had a good friend. He was teaching a music business class down at Georgia State, and he would bring me in right before the end of the semester sometimes to talk to he would mostly had juniors and seniors, and talk to them about social media and how they should be using it to find a job. And one of the things is, in all honesty, in a lot of HR departments, LinkedIn is lower down. Facebook and Twitter, that's where they find out the real person. And they're looking to see if you're in the same corporate culture. If you're sitting there with a solo cup in your hand at a keg party, you know, and your eyes are crossed, maybe you're not going to be the best person to represent them. So I warned a lot of them, and almost all HR people will tell you they do look at social media, but in all honesty, sometimes LinkedIn is further down, and especially at the level you guys are, they may look at it. I'm surprised they haven't at least popped in and looked at it. Maybe they do it from their personal, maybe they log in personally, and they have a mock. They don't want you to see that they're looking. I don't know. That's kind of interesting.
Well, you know, I think that's right, Ken, but I think that's probably one step beyond, because LinkedIn has become probably the the number one tool for recruiters to source candidates.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have saved a ton of money by getting rid of, other directories and publications to find out where people are, in favor of using the search function on LinkedIn for finding my candidates. Now, once I present the candidate, then the HR people might go and look at their social media profile. Frankly, I don't do that. Maybe I should, but the kind of people I'm working with, I assume, haven't been engaged in that kind of activity. They're, a little bit further along in the with executive skills.
Yeah.
But from a recruiting perspective, both for finding W-2 work, as well as being out there open to consulting work, LinkedIn is just incredibly powerful. So again, it's how you write your profile and the kind of keywords you use, and so that you will pop up in those search routines that people do.
Another element, I think, to this and other things, like I always say this about my newsletter, which is really just my blog. Once it's posted, I push it out. Half or more of the purpose for me is just making sure people know I'm still alive,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the content is. So same with LinkedIn. If you're just up there and up, you can't make, right? Half of my marketing dollars, have a huge ROI. I just don't know which half. So you got to be out there. But on I have a lot of people telling me, "Oh, I'm seeing you all over LinkedIn," and I'm like, I'm not all over LinkedIn. I'm just posting and doing a few things, and so it's out there. It's like, again, there's you got to do a bunch of stuff. Is sort of my motto, and make it as efficient as you can. But yeah.
Well, Dave, you get to our age, it's important that people know that you're still alive.
Well, and the great thing about, for you guys who write blogs, you can just choose, part of a sentence from any paragraph and put the link in, make a post on LinkedIn, which is part of a sentence, and read more and put the link underneath it. And you could use that blog all month long or for 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And because not everybody's going to see it the first time you post it.
Yeah, I do multiple times like that. And the other quick thing too, on those, when I'm talking to prospects, I'll go back to my various blogs or case studies or whatever, think about what might be relevant for them, and either subtly or not so subtly push it out to them, as well. And so those, you can really, so in those, and that, I mean, anybody can be blogging. Dave, you can be blogging about, industry things. If you're not, even looking from a job standpoint, people may see.
Oh, I do.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I write stuff and do all that all the time. The interesting thing is I'm seeing a lot more video out there as well, and I'm just thinking, maybe I need to shift more towards video as opposed to writing things, because I'm not sure how much people read anymore.
Well, that's a good point, Dave, but people do read and they do watch videos. It's is it the same people or the same time or whatever? So, You almost have to do both.
Yeah, it's good to have a
Good
mix.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
All right.
You can do videos with just your iPhone or whatever and keep it like to a minute or so. Just think of a really quick tip or something that people
Right.
forget and just do a quick little thing and post it.
Oh yeah, I see people doing videos while they're taking a walk or something. It's,
Right.
yeah.
I wonder who could do that. I don't know.
You know, and Ken, to your point about sentence or a phrase from a blog post that you write, there's a tool that I've got on our blog that makes it real easy for me to highlight, key phrases. I forget the name of the tool, and then all you have to do is then click on that link. I mean that box, and it automatically posts that on your Twitter feed.
Oh, okay.
So anyhow, but so anybody that's sending a blog post in, you might want to just give me a couple of lines or something that you think are really salient, and I can put that in there and make it even easier for you to get more exposure through encouraging people to click on it and put it on their Twitter feeds. So, all right, moving along. Don't have much more to do today. You guys are doing great, giving me really good content and feedback. But the whole point of writing something is, and for marketing your brand, is to be effective. And to be effective, you have to make sure you've got good grammar, good punctuation. Spelling has to be correct, and your sentence structures have to be compelling. So, here's a number of bullet points just as reminders about the importance of, good grammar and good English, not necessarily, totally precise English, because everybody knows that, what was a cigarette? Tastes like a cigarette should. What was that tagline? And they caught so much hell because it wasn't, correct English, but it was incredibly effective, as a tagline. So anyhow,
Winston takes good like a cigarette should.
there you go.
That sounds right.
I would know that if I was a cigarette smoker, but
My dad smoked
I'm
one.
not a cigarette smoker.
Yeah.
But I remember, I was in grammar school, and that was the English teacher was like, "Oh no, should be Winston tastes good as a cigarette should."
right.
Like, who cares?
Obviously, the marketing people knew more than the English teacher.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So accuracy in spelling, punctuation, grammar, voice, Grammarly is an incredibly powerful editing tool. So really recommend that you're using that, all of your, your written correspondence. Go for short sentences, get to the point. I'm really a fan of Hemingway and the way that he wrote. He was trained as a newspaper reporter, so he would write, short sentences that got right to the point. There wasn't a lot of compound sentences and no run-on sentences. So make it easy for the reader. Buzzwords and adjectives and adverbs have a tendency to take away from the message. So keep it simple. Know your audience, make your correspondence personal to them. Get to the point as quickly as you can. And this is one of my biggest pet peeves about intro letters or cover letters, is that so many people will spend a whole paragraph just trying to explain the current state of the world and the economy and life as a professional. It's like, we all understand that already. You don't need to tell us again. Tell me what you want and tell me what you're looking for. And that's why headlines can be so important that describe your business, and then you can use the rest of the letter to clarify a few key selling points. Also, remember the value of white space. People don't like reading legal documents. Legal documents tend not to have much white space. They're just dense and intimidating. The value of white space in any written communication is really important and should be considered.
Yeah, I would add that, Jim, if you're writing a blog, especially if it's on LinkedIn or social media, adding graphics and pictures is always helpful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, for all the electronic media, using graphics is very, very helpful. And frankly, I think it's proven that uh, that kind of material with graphics included gets more readership.
Yeah.
So it's not just pretty; it's effective. And I talked earlier about your bio or your resume. Make sure that whenever you're writing anything in that respect, that there should be a common thread throughout the document that sort of ties everything together. And if you got any questions about that, I'd be happy to talk to you about that offline, um, especially if you want to craft a bio. But the whole point is to find a way to make it interesting. Whatever you write should be interesting enough for the reader to continue reading. Again, so talk a little bit about writing. It certainly reflects on your brand. The quality of your writing reflects on your intelligence, which reflects on your professionalism, which may or may not lead to any business with that prospect. So I think we all know on this meeting today that the value of the written word is incredibly important, and we need to take a lot of time to ensure that we're getting our message across, and it's been well communicated and well received. The other thing that I would mention is you guys can help me understand how this applies to today's digital marketing world, but in when I was in as a W-2, corporate puke, the whole marketing issue was about reach and frequency. How big is the audience that you're able to attract, and how often are you communicating with them? Because the bigger the audience, the more greater percentage you get, viewing your advertisement in that audience generated more business, and the more frequent you could get your name and your brand out there in front of the audience, the greater the likelihood that you were going to build your brand and generate more revenue. So I don't think that's changed much. I could be wrong, but you guys have any opinions on that?
It's actually changed a lot, Jim. I mean, the general principle is correct, but now with digital marketing, you can target a lot more effectively down to one-to-one communications. And so reach and frequency is still important, but reach needs to be more targeted. And frequency, if you're in a one-to-one space, like we're talking about email earlier today, some people are okay being contacted once a day, some maybe once a week, some maybe less. And through data, you can actually learn some of those tendencies. So it's broadly, I'd say it's still right, but because of the targeting that can be done with digital today, it's changed, or it's morphed to a different animal.
Doug, that's an excellent point. And to that point, the one of the big benefits of email marketing is that we can segment the list, and the people on those lists in a way that would make our communications with them a lot more relevant. So there's a good support for your point there. Well taken.
Because reach and frequency was primarily a TV and radio thing.
Exactly.
You want to get a certain reach, and you want a frequency of 3+ or 4+ or whatever, and that was general mass media, which is why it's more important now. And the best example I always like to use for targeting is when you're working for a restaurant company, and whether you're doing app push notifications or emails, and if you've got it segmented so you know who are vegetarians and who are not, because there are more vegetarians today than there used to be, sending a just add bacon email to vegetarians doesn't play very well.
Absolutely.
No. That's a great example. That's very, very true. It's the more you can segment your email list, the better. And I'm in the process right now. I have a client. He's been sending weekly emails, and he's got 50,000 people in his email list, and probably 40,000 of them aren't even opening his newsletter anymore. And so what I'm going to do is go through, look at those that in the past 6 months haven't even opened a newsletter, and I'm going to probably put them in a different list and see if I move them to monthly, if they might start to have a better open rate. But the other folks that open everything he does, they're going to keep getting the weekly. But I'm going to see if I can improve his open rate for him, because it's the people signed up at one point, but now I think they feel they're bombarded, and so we're going to see what we can do.
Good point. Well, the nice thing about the email marketing is you can send out surveys and things, and really personalize your message so that you find out how they use the email, why they subscribed, and how often they want to receive something.
Right.
Hey, got a question, quick one, Ken. All the same annoyances as all of you. Sometimes, you first thing is just keep deleting, right? Every day, every week when you see it, right? Then,
Right.
yeah, I'm starting to, put them mark them as junk. Do they see that? Does that come back to a constant contact or whatever platform, or no?
Constant contact, the only thing they will see is one that you didn't open it, which could be you previewed it, but you never clicked to actually open it. So that's where I'm probably going to send out one email to all of those people that basically say that they're no longer going to receive it weekly. And I'm trying to work on the wording for that. That aside, the only other thing that they see is if they're reported as spam, or if they're unsubscribed. Those are the only other things you'd see. Now, these folks have been receiving the emails for years, but they haven't unsubscribed.
Yeah.
So it's not like I want to get rid of them, but I want to see if I can do something that will increase their open rate.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, well, I've seen when I get feedback on our email programs, I seem to recall that there is a statistic that Constant Contact tracks that, obviously they track the unsubscribed, but I think there's also one where it's listed as spam.
Right. If you're reported as spam, I thought I mentioned that, but if you're reported as spam, you'll get that statistic along with any unsubscribes. Correct.
Right.
Usually it doesn't tell you who reported you, though. It'll tell you who unsubscribed, but it won't tell you who reported you because there's some privacy issue there or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they're probably one of those that unsubscribed.
Yeah, you think, right?
Yeah, the odds are. So, no, good point on reach and frequency, and you're absolutely right. I need to update this to talk about segmentation more importantly going forward. But that's a hell of a good point. Any more questions on this this slide? Intro letters, we already talked a little bit about that, so I'll just run through this real quickly. An introduction letter needs to go to a specific person. You never want to write it to whom it may concern, or and it's nowadays it's so easy to get the name of the the prospective hiring manager or client, that there's no reason to write anything other than highly personalized. Again, be brief and to the point. Let them know in the first sentence who you are and what you're looking to accomplish with the the intro. If for people that are looking for work, if you're responding to a job board or a post for a job, make sure it always references the job specs so that you let them know this is what you're looking for, this is what I can deliver. Give them 2 to 3 reasons why you're a good fit, either for a consulting gig or for the job opening. If you're just sending a letter in to a company you might want to consider working for, be specific on the job that you're looking for, especially if you're not responding to an advertisement. In other words, if you're a franchise development person, then tell them directly, I'm looking for a senior level franchise development role within your company, right off the bat. They'll see you as more of a professional and at the same time, you won't be wasting their time if they don't have any opportunities like that. And again, we talked about the importance of using referrals to get your foot in the door, and always ask for the sale. Ask for the interview, whether it's a potential consulting gig or a potential job. And as I said, nowadays, employers have a way to really cut down their risk of making a bad hire by bringing you on as a consultant or a 1099 to do a specific project and get a chance to see how you work. So always be open to doing freelance work or 1099 work, because it's an incredibly powerful way to land that full-time job, especially for those of us that are a little bit more senior. And I know that I'm running 7 minutes over, so I'll just blow through the rest of this real quick. We don't need to talk too much about resumes, but here's some useful points, and all this will be in the recording that'll go on YouTube. And if anybody wants a copy of this presentation, just let me know. We talked about a bio. The important thing about the bio is make sure there's a common theme. How does everything tie together? How does your career story play out? Is it disjointed, or is there a consistent common thread that works through your entire career? And again, thank you letters. They're another selling tool. I mean, obviously you're thanking the person for the time they spent with you, but this is your opportunity to provide 2 or 3 compelling and unique selling propositions as to why they consider you for any kind of a job opportunity. And that is it. All right, folks, any other thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions on or off topic?
Nope.
Well, thanks for joining me today. I'll get this edited, and we'll have 2 presentations up. One would be this one, and the other would be Doug's. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Have a great
Bye.
week.
We'll see you.
Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.